Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Alignment Recess Live. I am Tiffany Lauren Jones, and this space is for conversations that honor the in between, the chapters without clarity, the pivots we didn't see coming, and the courage it takes to keep moving forward without a map. Today's episode is a conversation between friends and also a mirror for anyone who's in a season of reevaluation. I am joined by Tamera Darden, a professional creative and founder of Darden Creative, an agency that's produced photo and video content for major brands like Love One by John Legend, Hinlow by Naomi Osaka, and Wedding Wire. After a decade in the photography industry, Tamara's in a moment of sacred transition. She's stepping back, exploring joy, and building a life she doesn't want to run away from. This episode is for the woman who's outgrown what once felt like a dream and is now learning to live for herself, not her resume. So, welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction.
All you. Yeah. So, I introduce my guests, but I always say I'd love for you to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us how you got to this point in your journey.
Yeah, Tiffany has said it wonderfully, but hello, everyone. I'm Tamera. I am the creative professional and founder of Darden Creative. And Darden Creative is a creative production agency that lies in beauty and still life, photo and video for beauty and lifestyle brands. And I started the company actually 10 years ago this month. Actually, I got an update from yesterday that was like, congratulations on your 10-year anniversary. I started the business 28 really was when I had the idea. I was 2 years out uh, working a traditional 9 to 5. And I thought I was going to be a wardrobe stylist until I was waiting months to get paid for a job that I did. And a corporate job just wasn't in the cards. I was applying for jobs and nothing was really sticking. I started asking myself, okay, what is it about wardrobe styling that I liked? How can I translate everything that I have learned up until that point into a career, a business? Started in happenstance. And I said, okay, I don't want to do wardrobe styling, but I can do product styling and I can do creative direction for these brands. And so I would approach brands and offer to create content for them for free at the time, which is a lot of people would probably gasp at that now. Right. I was working many part-time jobs in order to offer the service for free, but honestly, it was the experience that was incredibly invaluable because the only payment was he'd tag us in the photos, like if they posted them on Instagram. So that was the metric at the time to let me know that this was an idea worth pursuing.
That was
And it
prime
worked.
time visibility then, getting tagged on Instagram.
Yeah, when it actually worked in your favor. And after 6 months, I said, I really believe in this, but obviously living in New York, really expensive, even though being back in New York, it was cheap at the time, but it just was not enough money to help me cover my expenses at the time. And so I moved to DC and I said, I just need a soft place to land so that I can grow this to what I don't know. But I think there's an idea there that it just started a huge journey of discovery, resilience, and really what I'm capable of. And so I went from offering the service for free to making the most that I've ever made in my life at the time, like hitting my first 6 figures after putting in 4 years of work.
Right.
And even during COVID, saw the most money I'd ever made ever in my life, which then led to me becoming an author and like publishing the Photo CEO, which is a business framework for photographers. We will want to build a profitable, sustainable business without the burnout. And Then once I accomplished everything that I wanted, was like, what next? I almost had an identity crisis, which I know we'll get into, and a few financial mistakes forced or encouraged me, depending on how you want to look at it, to really ask myself, is this still what I want to do in this way? And how to surrender to how you feel, and acknowledging that. So now I'm back home in New York, been here for 8 months, and I have been in a journey of personal discovery, and it's bringing up a lot of things. And it's also reminding me it's important to lean into human design, which I thank you for that, which I know we'll get into. So, yes, that's my spiel at the moment.
A whole journey, a whole journey. So you built a entirely successful career, a creative career at that, because there is a big difference in building a career and a creative career, especially online. Being a creative is something that I feel takes just a little bit of extra grit because it's just a different industry. And finding a lucrative flow in a creative career can be a challenge at times. So to do that is no small feat. So you're taking a step back now. What shifted for you exactly? What were you experiencing? You mentioned a little bit about an identity crisis, if you will. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think once I made the money, one, it gave me space that I realized I didn't have when I started, because I didn't realize I was on go from the moment I graduated from college. And that sounds like really that long, 39. I made my first six figures at 36. So you're talking about 15 years of just going and proving.
And really before then, because we have to perform in school.
There are different faces that we have to present depending on the environment that we're in.
Yeah.
So I think once I felt like I wasn't in struggle mode anymore, and even that was a challenge, I was faced with, do the motivation that I started this business, do they still stack up now? And when I started the business, I feel like I had so much to prove. There was a lot of anger there too, like anger of the way I lost my job, anger because I felt like growing up I was made fun of. I had all these stories really that was running like subconsciously that I didn't realize that was coming out
Mhm.
while I was growing the business. And I'm not gonna lie, and maybe some people may feel this way too, but it's having a little chip on your shoulder. Motivation. It helps you up until a certain point. And my father not being supportive, there were just all of these stories, memories that were in my head of I'm gonna do this and F everybody. That did feel good up to a certain point, but then I felt like I had more space. And so then I had to grapple with, wow, I've really been on go for a long time. It wasn't until 2021 when I made my second year making six figures and I was in Miami and I was like a mess. I was crying and I was burned out.
Yeah.
Leave it because I'm like, this is what I worked hard for, like to get here, to be able to have more freedom and more choice over my time, to make my own decisions personally and professionally. And I didn't feel as happy as I thought I was going. And I think that was when the seed was planted. And other times when I have felt frustration, especially as a generator, we know we're out of alignment when there is frustration.
Right.
So every time I felt frustration, I would look at it as a puzzle. Okay, what exactly am I feeling frustrated by? And how do I make that adjustment? And so I was it was like a rotation, almost like a cycle. So whenever I would feel frustration, I would say, oh, that means if I'm frustrated because I'm doing everything in my business, then now it's time to outsource to a base, which means I can increase my prices. Or, oh, I'm feeling frustrated doing this role, so let me outsource this. So it became a great tool to acknowledge I don't need to do this anymore. But then it just became, okay, how many times, Tamara, am I going to make adjustments? Like how many times? I think that was when it was like, you're trying to make all these adjustments and it's still not, you're not satisfied. You're still not it's not working.
You were putting a Band-Aid on the problem rather than fixing like the root.
After a Band-Aid. And so I think it really came to a head last year where I'm like, wow, I'm really not happy. It's not fun for me anymore. Like this isn't fun. And I'm from the camp of making money should be fun. If I have decided to run my own business and everything that is associated with that, it better be fun 85%. And it was fun 0% of the time. And I needed to understand why. And something happened that became domino effect. Not that I was not showing up how I needed to in my business, that there were just decisions, things that were happening that were really outside of my control that really was like, and like I had to pump the brakes. It almost was like I had to be forced to really do a really true assessment of, okay, would you still do this? And if you would, what would it look like? Because right now it's just not working. And you've been trying for the past 3 years.
Right. It's like the signs were showing you that it was time to make a shift.
It was
And
late. Yeah. Yeah.
so we had a chance to work together during some pivotal seasons of your journey, or I would say a
Yeah.
very pivotal season in your journey. So looking back, how did that support or shift show up for you, either in how you saw yourself or how you moved through this transition?
Yeah. I gotta say, doing, okay, this is not a infomercial. I just want to say getting my report done was incredibly important. And I printed it out recently so that I can keep reading it because it has now become such a such an essential tool for me for what I want next chapter to look like. Understanding like nothing is permanent.
Right.
And so I just want to say thank you. Oh, really? Anyone I'm looking, I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Whenever I turn to the side, I'm looking at you. Anyone is considering getting their human design report done and like getting insight. And really, it's a tool. It's not something that you use to give you step by step, but something that you can meditate on, that you can really just utilize as you move along your journey. I highly recommend booking. We met at a very interesting time because originally when we met, one, I just was so thankful because I felt like I was getting with so much clarity thinking on my own. And I wanted to work with someone that had knowledge of, I want to say more intuitive tools, because I do feel like human design is a lot more intuitive. I'm used to strategy and execution, right? And physical realm. That is how I make money. I felt like understanding intuitively why I may do the things that I do, I think that was just missing for me. And so it was just incredibly, it was valuable. It was so valuable. And also, it got me out of my comfort zone because I was offering portrait sessions. And it was low stake. Like, not, I'm not saying that in a bad way, but I think it away a lot of the pressure that I felt like I was putting on myself to always perform, because even with the intake process, like, it was very specific as to who the service was for. Like, someone that was comfortable being themselves, that didn't want to hide behind a coffee mug or a laptop. Like, it's just you in all your glory. And I guess that is a foreshadow of where I am right now without even realizing it or what I desire. And so I think I don't know, it just opens up things for me about, okay, if I were to pick up the camera again, what would I want my art to look like? And do I want photography to be the way that I generate revenue? It really caused me to start asking questions, not necessarily having answers, but just planting the seeds. And then having the report, I think, was just more than the icing on the cake. It just became like a guide, and rereading it now. Like, I reread it like a month ago. I remember texting you, I think, yep, hey girl, like, I knew the report was great, but actually sitting down and reading even from my own answer, where I want my life to be and where it is now, what I think the disconnect is, which gates are open, and thinking about instances in my life where, oh, I see why that gate is open for me. It was just a game changer. I know people use that word a lot, but it just was a game changer for me to surrender. That is always that I'm in now, and it's hard. It's hard.
Running is so hard.
Hard. It's very hard. Yeah.
It sounds so easy because it's just let go, just surrender.
Yeah.
But you realize in the surrendering, there's so many things that you're holding on to that are attached to your identity, your belief. All of these things you could have really built the foundation or the infrastructure of who you are as a person that you don't even realize. So you have to dismantle that piece by piece to really surrender. And with that, you mentioned this, it brings up things from your childhood, other parts of life that maybe you weren't thinking of consciously, but subconsciously had become a part of your decision making process. So then there's a grief that comes along with that, and maybe some anger and some rage. And then it's like, what is happening? Like, I just wanted to surrender. It's a lot. So now it can begin to feel like work, and it is work, but it's identity work, it's energy work. And so it's counterintuitive to what we've been taught. We've been taught a lot to do the physical work, like you mentioned. You have the strategy, you have the services or whatever the product that you're selling, and I'm going to execute it, and then that's it. This work is so different because it requires you to face the things that work has maybe suppressed, or like you said, hiding behind the coffee mug or the laptop. You haven't had to address those things. You don't have to address those things to move in logic and strategy, but the world and we are shifting. We now have to look at the other side of us, which is the true core of who we are, our intuition, our emotions, and our experiences, and our subconscious mind. And no one teaches us how to do that. It's quite a luxury, actually, to access information, to even understand how our minds and our bodies really work. And so we're moving into a time, I believe, that this information is becoming a lot more available. We're starting to hear about human design a little bit more, but even most of the people speaking of human design, they're not people of color. A lot of wellness and energetics, and I believe the truth of who we are as human, it's been gate kept. So that's a whole other episode. We haven't had access to the truth of our own power and how to really navigate this human experience outside of producing. Outside of, yeah. And so doing that on your own is, I don't have the best analogy at the moment. I always joke with my clients, and I have a client watching. I'm working on the analogies, people. I don't have them all yet, but use your imagination. It's not easy to be doing something without a guidebook, really. So that's why I love human design, because it gives you that guidebook, but it's very different. Like, you don't learn this in school. You don't there's no one out here really showing us how to live this way. So it's new. So we're pioneers in a way
Yeah.
of new way of living and being, which means there's a lot of trial and error and we're figuring it out as we go.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's not visible work. And so
Okay.
that makes it feel like it's not worth doing. There's no reward. The reward is personal fulfillment, but
Right.
there isn't a physical reward for doing the internal work. It's just being a better human.
Which I think eventually does lead. I think eventually does lead. Oh, but just take more time and it looks different and it's easier, which many times it comes with ease. And I know I've even in this new phase of my business, I'm like, is it working? Because I'm so used to pushing. And then I'm like, it almost like it's not far enough. So this isn't it, or it's not going to get me, yeah, to where I want to go, but it's not true.
I, in my, I guess, unraveling process, I'm always thinking of ideas. A generator is always, oh my God, yes, that's the thing. And so then they're like,
That wasn't it.
oh, so I know there's a question about core values, but to go even further than that, I had to write down what my non-negotiables would be for a new career, new job, etc.
Right.
And very simple things, but it's just based off of where I am in my life. Like it doesn't require, or I don't want it to require a lot of money to start. I want it to be fun. They want it to, what did I say? I don't want it to be reliant on social media support and buy-in. I want it to be something that is eventually self-sustaining. And there's one more, but I can't think of it right now. I meant to write it down. But I remember a couple of months ago, I was like, I'm going to go to nursing. I've had some personal issues that I've had to navigate the healthcare system. And you know what? I want to help other women navigate it as well. And let me just go to school to be a nurse. And then I was like, Tamera, first of all, I didn't want it to be attached to past personal traumas. That actually was really important. And so when I said nursing is like Tamera, this is based off of a trauma that you have and are healing from. One. And two, nursing school is ridiculously expensive. So just based off of those two things, is that really what you desire to do? Like really asking myself this question and really comparing to what those non-negotiable are. And I have to, not even I have to, I know that whatever is next for me will align with all of those things that I desire because it is a luxury to be able to have this time. Like I live home with my mom. I'm very thankful that I can work through this very messy, imperfect work without the stress of this.
Especially right now.
Actually, right now, I miss DC. Now, you don't know what you have until it's gone, but I miss DC. But
We can always pop in and visit.
exactly,
What I've been doing.
move back.
Yeah.
You're telling the listeners and the watchers now, you may just see me walking down New York Ave one of these days. But yeah, I'm thankful to be home now, being able to do this because I'm not sure if my nervous system would have been able to handle this if I was still in DC trying to figure out how to keep the lights on.
No.
Then it would not have been an option and it would have been an opportunity to do that.
No. DC, unless I would say you have millions of dollars. DC is not the place, at least for me, with the lifestyle that I like to live, that I can go and rest my nervous system. Or I can go. Living there and running a business full time was really fun. There were so many opportunities. I love living there, but I still felt on even when I was relaxing. I still felt like I have to watch my back a little bit. I have to be strategic to live here. I'm always thinking about what the plan is, even in my rest, because my rest periods had to be so intentional. It felt like work to relax, had to find the quiet spaces and to even on my rooftop, had a beautiful rooftop in my building. Even then, there were helicopters. Yeah, very nice building, but then there's still noise and ambulance. So I'm meditating and there's like sirens and it's okay, but I'm also getting a gorgeous sunset and beautiful breezes and butterflies and things, but it's still very different. It's not a full nervous system reset or a relaxed place unless again you're there where you don't really have to worry about, okay, this apartment's beautiful, but the rent is very high and it's due very soon. I'm
I
all these
think
things.
that home is New York.
Yeah, you have access to things here.
Even though this is not a part of the enemy's purpose. But I have realized that my next chapter is not here. And again, exactly. But I think that, but even coming to that realization, like take being able to have the mental space and capacity to even think through that and why.
So you've been exploring for the sake of joy.
Yes.
Tell us about adult summer camp. What sparked that and what has it shown you about pleasure and purpose?
Woo! Yes. I realized that, let me rewind. I'm sorry. So at the top of the year, I read Die with Zero.
No.
I highly recommend it for anyone. Bill Perkins is, I think, a millionaire or a billionaire. I think a multimillionaire.
Okay.
A book essentially is you can't take the money with you. So, how do you optimize what you earn in order to live a more purposeful life and not waiting to do something until you feel like you'll have the time? So
Okay.
it's anti-retirement, not in the sense of I'm going to work till I'm dead, but more so not waiting until retirement to live a fulfilling life. Not
Absolutely.
just did a little bit of research. It could be one Google search to see how much something costs. Then you can work backward, plan backward in order to achieve the thing that you want to achieve. And so one of the exercises that he has the readers do is write out all the things that they want to do. It doesn't matter how outlandish it is. Like I had being an actress on there.
I love I could totally see that for you.
People have said that, but I don't
I
want to
could
go.
see that.
But
Take classes,
I did.
improv classes.
I actually did, and I dropped out. Write out the most outlandish things that you want to do, and then challenge yourself. The second step is challenge yourself to put them in time buckets
Ooh.
up to the age that you feel like you physically may not be able to do them. And so that's
No.
for a lot of people, genetics, based off of your current life experiences. And so I said, I'm going to give myself until 50, even though my grandmother is very healthy, of sound mind and body. But I am also an athlete. I have more injuries than she has. And that's not me trying to put myself in an early grave, but more so just understanding my capability.
Yeah, that's your truth. That's your reality, your
And
experience.
exactly. So I gave myself until 50 and I just started placing things in time buckets. And I said, okay, I'm 38 now. So let the first time bucket be the next 2 years to 40 because that's a pretty monumental birthday. Then I said 5. And then I said 46 to 50. And it was very interesting to see it right there in front of you because things that I thought was going to be on the list was nowhere near there. But then there were things that I'd always said to myself that I wanted to do, but I just never did because I gave myself the excuse that I didn't have enough time and that I didn't have enough money. But I never did the research to actually see how much these things cost to actually do it. Once I actually wrote the list down, especially the 38 to 40 time bucket, it forced me to do the research to say how much does this cost and what is the next available time that I can do this or whatever. And considering I wasn't taking on any clients, I didn't have any, use time as an excuse anymore for not doing this. And so just an example of what was on my list, learning how to swim. Riding a bike, I did that in my mid-30s, but riding a bike wasn't that. Learning how to drive, um, taking DJ lessons. Sounds so fun. Painting. There was something else on there, and I'm drawing a blank because I feel like I've done so many things now. French lessons because I want to live in Paris for an extended period of time.
Yes, I remember that.
And acting. So I signed up for improv. I signed up for swim lessons because the YMCA and the city, they offer financial aid for people who are non-members. So that decreased the cost dramatically. Taking lessons. I used to take French lessons in DC. They offer them virtually. Acting. Oh, this is like one of the capitals of acting. So I signed up for improv and it was like less than $300. It was just all these things. Like I was like, everyone is gonna die. So let me just you should
Eventually, ever. We limit ourselves.
yeah.
Limit ourselves saying, oh, it's too expensive or it's going to be hard or whatever it is. We never even look. We just automatically tell ourselves it's not available.
We can't do it. We're not gonna be good.
Yeah.
Trying to do it. And sewing. Sewing. I love to sew. I signed up for classes and it's just been great enjoying something just to enjoy it as a hobby. I was working so much and I had no hobbies. I would even trick myself as thinking doing test shoots, like photography test shoots was an hobby. No, girl,
You're still working. Yeah.
So I wanted to find ways to use my hands that had nothing to do with generating revenue. So it's been fun. I feel personally more fulfilled. And doing the activities is what led me to my non-negotiables, actually. And it led me to something that I just started, which we can talk about at the end. But I find that prioritizing play is what allows you to get your best ideas.
Oh, yes.
I was continuous to say, but
No, that was it. That was the mic drop. That was the bar. That was the whole thing.
I
It's a
feel
powerful tool during transitions, especially if you are a high performer, a high achiever, you've been revenue, logic focused. You have to trust yourself to play. You have to get back to play. And it feels hard because you're looking at the outcome. Am I going to win? Okay, I'm playing, but am I going to win? Do I have the strategy to play? Even simple things like painting. I literally went to art school. Love painting, have all the supplies, the easel, the paint. And I sat to paint when I first was going through this is my third sabbatical, I would say. But when I first left corporate, sitting down to paint, I was like, okay, we're going to create a masterpiece. But it's yeah. Well, I was getting upset when it wasn't perfect, girl. And it was like, whoa, what happened? Because it wasn't always that way. I grew up painting and creating and making things just for fun. And I actually enjoyed the process of messing things up because, okay, I get to start over. I get to try something new. And then to see this version of myself where I was trying to make everything perfect. And I picked out an inspiration board on Pinterest. Okay, we're going to paint it perfectly. And I'm like, ew. So I had to work through that. And it was very uncomfortable. And it still is a little bit because I've been in that mode of, I think in entrepreneurship too, because it can put you in survival mode because it's your livelihood. It's how you eat. It's how you pay for all the things, especially if you're doing it in a major city. You cut what you feel like is unnecessary. You get down to the basics. And a lot of times play and fun can go with that.
priority.
So you lose that. Even being a creative, you lose that creativity in a way. And so it's a muscle that you have to re-strengthen. And in that process, as you said, you get your best ideas and you get reconnected with yourself in a way that reminds you, okay, I actually don't like this part of the business. I really need to delegate that. Or, oh my gosh, I need to. Now it's critical to the business that I carve out time to be creative because look at the amazing ideas that are coming up that have just been inside of me waiting to be birthed that I couldn't access because I'm focused on the logic. Because play isn't logical. When you're a kid and you go outside and you're playing, you just making it up as you go. You're not thinking through it. It's messy. We're not allowed to be messy.
I was I was just so afraid at one point to shoot because I was like, this has to be the best thing I've shot. Like every single time.
Right.
This is just too much. This is too much pressure. Let me step back from this. Like I may say to myself, maybe I don't want to do photography in this way anymore. Maybe I actually want to just be a producer and oversee and give people who often aren't given the access, the opportunity to share their investment, to bring them on.
And allowing yourself to explore those possibilities without the pressure of, okay, do I have a whole business plan around this? Is it going to work? Is this going to be the thing? I don't know if this is going to be the thing, but maybe there's part of this that is going to be the thing, or there's something I'm going to learn here that I'm going to really enjoy. And then it's like a discovery. You go down the path. The Alchemist is a book that I always reference because I love it so much. And yes, and I highly recommend it because it's really about that journey of discovery, and each part of your journey gives you another little piece of the puzzle, and then eventually you can see the full picture and you have the clue and you're like, "Ah, okay, I see it now." And so you're searching for this one big revelation, but it's really the culmination of all the experiences that lead you to that moment of, "Okay, I know what I wanna do now." So you mentioned needing to revisit your core values before starting a new chapter. Tell us a little bit about that. What came up during that process?
It was several come to Jesus moments, but it was revisiting my core values is something that I've always done, even throughout my career. Like the core values, I remember one of them before when I started was being resourceful and scrappy. And then when I started booking bigger jobs where I had the resources, I didn't have to rock you to take call or make a dollar out of 15 cents. Okay, that value doesn't really align anymore. And so the same exercise here, my core value now, I want them to be a reflection of where I want to go and like how can I practice them today in order to be my favorite selves. And also, how do I say this? Being in New York, you feel like Peter Pan. For people that may not make sense, but if you live in a city like New York, like there was an article a couple of weeks ago where like people in New York just seem younger than their age. That is a real thing because you are hitting or not hitting milestones at a much older age than maybe other parts of America. We are meeting someone, you don't know if they're 39, you don't know if they're 30, you don't know if they're 50. So we're all on this proverbial chase for what's next. I realized my core values. I realized like I just want a very different life. I don't want children. And I think that definitely not dictates is not the right word. Informs. That's the word I'm looking for. Informs the path or the choices that you have compared to someone else where they feel like they want to be a mother. And my core values reflect that freedom and flexibility, like ability to come and go as I please, operating in integrity, look like honesty, whether it's good or bad. And obviously, or not obviously, sustainability is one of them. Another one. I don't want to be stressed out. Like this is not rocket science. We're not saving the world. Yeah. Right. Saving art, yes, but things just there doesn't things don't need to be taken so seriously. Like they're the feeling of levity, right? Feeling of spontaneity and joy. Like I said to myself through this journey that I don't want to use my trauma as my origin story.
Right.
I want my trauma to be my origin story.
Ew, that's evoking some emotion in me. It's just, am I gonna cry? Yeah,
Really don't, but
very
I
charming.
I and I wrote this on Thread too. I don't know, it just hit me with a ton of bricks because I feel like so many of us are holding our present and future for ransom because of our past. And I don't know, it's something and nothing happened. It just was like a switch of just listen, I know the trope, especially of Black women being in business, having their own business, of having to rely on their story, which sometimes or most times is rooted in trauma and lack and necessity in order to be validated or have their idea be validated. And I just was like, fuck that. My language. I just did not want that to be my story anymore. I didn't want to be angry. I didn't. Perimenopause is enough, y'all. The rage is going to happen regardless. I was rageful ways ago. The rage will be there since. I didn't want to add more fuel to the fire. I didn't want the mud that I had to go through to be my origin story anymore. I felt like I had paid my dues. I had done the work. That's what I've been doing the past 10, 15 years.
Right.
I have validated the idea multiple times. I've proven to myself that I can turn water into wine. So I no, you don't need to know how I got it out the mud. You see the manifestation in front of you. It is the work that I have done.
To see the fruits.
And if that is not enough, then I'm not going to waste my time trying to convince anything to you. Yeah, mic drop.
I see a bunch of hearts going off in the chat.
I wanted my new origin story to be rooted in joy. And I've even gone so far. Like I sent out an email earlier today. I am going so far as to not speak in negative tense. An example. So I am writing a story for my Substack and about perimenopause and like the evolution of beauty for women who are experiencing perimenopause. And I shared that I officially am in perimenopause. And I wrote a sentence that said, the symptoms are not unmanageable. And that sounds pretty innocent, right? They're not unmanageable. But just the fact that it speaks the negative instead of saying, my symptoms are manageable. Like, even very subtle things,
It matters.
it matters because the more that you change your language, then it almost is like a biofeedback for the brain, right?
Yeah.
Then you start to, it metabolizes and then it manifests all of those things. And I know we speak intuitively here. So that is just I am just becoming way more intentional in that way and just like being mindful of the language. And it's not to say that I don't complain, because listen, I'm a complain, but when I take a step back, I'm like, is there a different way that I can say this that is not a negative tense? And when I changed my signature, like I used to say much love, which, yeah, in love, but I changed it to with joy because I want to keep reading that. Yes, I am sending this to you from a state of joy.
You can
And
feel the difference in the words too.
you feel the difference in the words. Like just reading it, it causes a chain reaction and a feedback. As we were saying earlier, like the work is invisible, but doing those things, it causes just a physical, like a cellular change in your body. You can believe that just as someone who has experience injuries, really bad injury, where it's like, people are like, how are you still standing upright? It's because I have had to change the language. Like in real time, yes, I will acknowledge the pain, but this is temporary, right? Like just saying, telling yourself different story, telling yourself different outcomes. And
It's changing your frequency.
yeah, it absolutely is about changing your frequency and coming up to a level of self actualization, right? Like that really purpose sounds so heavy, but that is the purpose, right? It's like, how do I become my favorite self? Not necessarily best self. I've heard the term from my leak. I'm sure there's plenty people that are familiar with her.
Yeah.
Listening to a podcast, and she said, best self just sounds so restrictive, right? The best, that's a heavy weight. There are people that want to be the best. That's great. But I want to be my favorite self. I want to be like, yeah, Tamara is really cool. I like her. So what does that look like? And it's going to look different for everyone, but it's all about the language that we speak. And I want to remove myself from my trauma because that's just not who I am anymore. You have to. And it's
To be your favorite self, to be your best self, all the things to live in alignment, to shift the frequency and do all the things that bring you joy, you have to let it go. It's about energy. So if your frequency is full of all the old thing, there's no space for the new to come in. So it happens in a natural way. But once you understand what's happening, you can then make conscious choices about, okay, I see this showing up not only in my business, but also in my language. And it's just all connected. So it's really beautiful that you dissected in a way your own experience. Not in I use the word dissect, but I want to be careful with that because that can also turn into an obsessive thing.
And like paralysis, like a paralysis.
Yes.
What's this paralysis?
Yes. So I say you've been aware enough of yourself to see, okay, this is how this is showing up. And then you make the conscious choice of, okay, I'm gonna let this go, or I'm gonna shift this. And then you get to experience the results of that, which I feel inspires you to continue because you can feel the difference. Like you said, the manifestation, you're like, okay, I can see this is working. I may not be able to fully articulate it. I may not be able to fully understand it because it's so different. And as you said, it's unseen, but I can feel it. So that's how I know, which is beautiful. That leads us right into my favorite part of the experience now, which is rapid fire reflection. I'm gonna ask you 4 questions, rapid fire. First thought that comes to your mind, no pressure.
Okay.
Are you ready?
No, but let's do it.
You're ready. You're ready.
You
Okay.
yes or no question generators. We need yes or no.
That's true. Oh, that's clear. Oh, okay. Next episode, we're gonna have you outside your comfort zone a little bit then. This. A belief you had to let go of in this transition.
Not everything is so serious.
Exactly. That's a good one. A practice or habit that's grounding you right now.
Is it okay if I have more than one? Yeah, fine. One, having conversations like this. Like I know this isn't a podcast like Interview 101, but I have been feeling really enriched by the conversations that I've had with my girlfriends. It's also very healing as well. So that I would say is one. Two, I fell off a little bit, but there's no such thing. You do what you need in the time.
Yeah.
But I would say not keeping my stomach in, not holding my belly in. I think some people may be like, what do you mean by that? I want you, if you're still on here, I just want you to take one big deep breath and just see how much your belly expands.
Wow. It's letting your body relax.
Letting the body relax. And we don't realize how often we hold the breath.
Yeah.
Like
Into your jaw.
loosening the jaw. I find myself sometimes holding my shoulders up. So I have to intentionally roll them back and drop them. Even like when
Or
I massage, the masseuse is, oh my God, your shoulders.
when I'm getting my nails done, they tap my hand a little bit and they're like, relax the hand. Relax.
Just relax for me. I would say releasing my belly has been very freeing, especially being a grown woman. Like just releasing the belly. That is another conversation just because the perception of beauty and thinness and
All the things.
all the things. But yeah, that has been keeping me grounded lately.
Beautiful. Big thing. Allowing your nervous system and your body to relax is really the foundation of all the things.
Really everything.
One thing you've learned about yourself by stepping away from your career. I'm sure it's more than one, but maybe the biggest one.
I had this epiphany the other day. My job doesn't need to be my calling. It could just be something that I'm really good at, that I'm willing to, as a generator, and I'm willing to enjoy the journey towards mastery, even if I never get there. But it's something that I would enjoy investing my time and energy in because I want to, and not because it is my calling. My calling is to inspire people, but that doesn't need to be attached to the job. That freed me completely because people are always like, follow your passion, follow your passion. That your passion may not be associated with revenue. It lines up, that's great. There are plenty of instances where that can happen. I would say that happened to me with photography, but my job does not need to be my calling and vice versa. If it are I'm interested in, that I'm willing to invest the time and energy in.
A moment of joy you recently created on purpose.
Gosh, I don't know. I bought paint.
Okay.
I bought the painting class by an artist I found on Thread. Threads is that girl.
She is.
And she paints with squeegees.
Ooh.
And I don't know, I've gravitated towards that, and I'll show you pictures when we get off, but I really enjoy doing it. It really does bring me joy. So buying paint is really great. And I just love being with my friends.
Yeah. Community
Yeah,
is so important.
I really, me and a girlfriend went to the Met last week to see Superfine.
Oh, fun.
Event. And then my back started to hurt towards the end. And I was like, girl, I need to sit down. And then it just led to us just speaking for 30 minutes in the Met. I I love moments like that. They're unscripted, but it's just what you need. You don't know what you need until it happened. And I'm a sap. I love being in community with my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Final word for our listeners today. If someone listening is in transition, unsure, and afraid to pause, what would you want them to hear from you right now?
I would say if you really think deep down, you know the difference between your intuition speaking to you and anxiety. Everyone has their own cues, right? For me, anxiety feels like rushing, forcing, pushing. I don't feel calm in my body. Whereas when something keeps speaking through, it feels like it's like a calm river or like a calm body of water. Like it's a whisper until it's not, but it's a whisper and it's soft. Trust that voice. I think we are in a society that has tried to convince women that intuition doesn't exist. And I have learned over the years that intuition has saved me plenty of times. Discernment has saved me, especially in business decisions for not going forward with a client or cutting a client. Right. It is because I've trusted my intuition. And you don't need to know the end goal in order to start. Action breeds more clarity, which breeds more confidence. So if you always think there, then just fail quickly. You don't have to break anything. But this isn't the Silicon Valley, like break things fast. It's more try the thing. It's okay to be seen trying. It's going to be more data and overall. And because that's going to inform what your next steps will be. You have to have all the answers right now. You're not going to know. So be comfortable with not knowing. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. A beautiful way to wrap up our conversation today. Thank you so much for joining me. Where can the people find you on the internet?
Girl, where can you find me? Okay, you can find me on Instagram and Threads. I really am on Threads. She really is that girl.
I'm enjoying it.
Tamera Darden, Tamera.DR. And my website is tameradarden.co. And my Substack. So my Substack has gone through some evolution, but it is currently called the Beauty Bureau, where I share beauty news, stories, shopping report for grown women, i.e., women 30 and older. Doesn't mean that you can't read it if you're younger than that, but that is what we talk about in Beauty Bureau. So, yeah, find me there. Oh, the address is I am Tamera Darden. That's upset.
And it'll be tagged for you guys, of course. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. This was an amazing conversation. For everyone listening, of course, the interview will be available here on Substack, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all the places. And in the meantime, stay aligned. Bye bye.